already told you not to bother Yin. We can still be intimate without you disturbing my girlfriend. But I don't want you to sleep with her and then sleep with me afterward. I can't bear to share you with her or any other girl. From the beginning, you willingly gave your body to me even though there was no official relationship between us. So what's the problem now? The problem now is, I want to have you completely. I want you to only sleep with me and stop sleeping with her. 1 month ago, the campus radio during break time was the most awaited program by all the students. Besides its very interesting broadcasts, they also loved how the host read each poem or letter sent by secret admirers to their beloved. Okay, the second letter for today. We will see into someone's heart again, someone who loves in silence, said the host with a calming voice. He took a deep breath, preparing himself to read the letter as best as he could to convey the sender's message to their beloved. Then he began to read the letter. Dear Moonflower, we are as close as a painting and a frame, yet you still don't realize it. Dear Moonflower, I love you as intensely as the rain, but you choose to take shelter under the trees. So how should I tell you about my feelings that are only directed at you, while your gaze is always directed at him in every corner? By Drake Frost. The host's smile widened after reading the poem about someone's feelings that were never noticed by the recipient. Wow, this is very touching. For you, Drake Frost. If she doesn't realize your feelings even though you've tried to show her, it's better for you to be straightforward. Don't waste your time waiting without clarity. Say it. Then accept whatever answer she gives you, whether it's rejection or acceptance. Okay, that's my advice from Romance Space today, Yugium. The radio host paused for the next letter by playing a song that he felt matched the letter he had just read. On the other side of campus, a corner table in the cafeteria, occupied by 7 young students, became quite rowdy. They were trying to guess who the anonymous user Drake Frost might be, who had sent such a touching letter, and who the girl he liked was. This Drake Frost seems to be a close friend of his crush. The line "we are as close as a painting and a frame" gives it away. Loving a friend really is that tortuous. Rose, you talk as if you know what it feels like to be in love with a friend. Most of your friends are girls. Could it be? Are you into the same sex? Why are you bringing sexual orientation into this? Well, Rose's close friends are just the 3 of us, and she talks like she really understands what it's like to fall for a best friend. So, maybe Rose has a crush on one of us? Now I'm suspicious. Yin and Yuju shivered at Yuna's insinuation. They were both very much into guys. They could scream hysterically when they saw the handsome radio host, Yugium, playing basketball on the court, or when Senior Suho exuded his noble aura while smiling warmly in the campus quarters. Sorry. Not sorry, but I clearly want to have cute babies. Yin high-fived Yuju in agreement. Yeah, Park Yin also wants 5 adorable babies. Yuna raised her hand and glanced at Rose, showing off the ring on her ring finger. Don't forget, Kim Jong-un is already my boyfriend. Rose put her fork down on her empty plate, smirking at her 3 friends. For your information, my ladies, I've been dating Senior Kai for almost a month now. I'm normal too, okay? The 4 friends then laughed together, ignoring the subsequent letters read by the radio host Yugium during the break. But suddenly, someone placed a piece of meat on Yin's plate while she was still giggling over their previous random discussion. Eat more. Your body is just skin and bones and you still want to diet. Yin immediately hit the guy who body shamed her. How could Jungkook say her body was just skin and bones? What kind of friend was that? Jiyeon Jungkook. Yin fumed, hitting and pinching him as much as she wanted while Jungkook just chuckled without attempting to avoid her blows. The 2 other guys sitting with them in the cafeteria laughed as Jungkook became Yin's punching bag. Minju laughed the loudest until Yoonwoo patted his shoulder firmly to quiet him down. The next day, this evening, there will be a basketball match on campus. It's a selection round for the 97th batch of students to choose the core team. With 2 teams competing, each led by Jiyeon Jungkook and Yugium, it's clear that this is not just about basketball, but also a visual showdown between 2 campus princes with very contrasting personalities. Yugium, with his charismatic presence, handsome face, brilliant mind, and widespread fame across the campus, is the typical student who attracts female students who happily chase after him. On the other hand, Jiyeon Jungkook is a very private and mysterious young man who dislikes the excessive attention of girls who are smitten by his ice prince charm. He tends to avoid standing out, as privacy is a non-negotiable comfort for Jungkook. He only gets close to people he permits to be near him. Yin, Yuju, Rose, and Yuna are already seated in the front row of the indoor basketball court stands, ready to watch their fellow students enter the court. 2 teams will compete for the selection of the core team, a combination of chosen students. Yugium enters wearing a yellow team jersey, Yin's favorite color, symbolizing cheerfulness. Jungkook and his team, however, wear black, perfectly reflecting his cold and mysterious character. Jungkook turns his body, facing directly toward his 4 female friends seated in the front row. He observes how flustered Yin is as her 3 friends tease her. The jokes, which he often hears, are not amusing to him at all. He knows that Yuju, Rose, and Yuna must be teasing Yin about whom she will support. Him, her friend as close as her pulse, or Yugeum, the guy she currently has a crush on. Setting aside his discomfort, Jungkook channels all his anxiety into an impressive game. The 2 teams compete fiercely, but in the end, Jungkook's team wins. Supporters of Jungkook's team cheer happily, including his 4 female friends. The match is over. Yin pulls out a small towel and a water bottle from her bag and offers them to Jungkook, who is now standing in front of her. Yin's attention is divided. Not just her eyes, but all the girls in the room seem to be looking in the same direction, where Yugeum is struggling to handle the attention from his many female admirers on the other side of the stands. Jungkook scoffs at the bitter reality. Then he grabs Yin's wrist, which immediately draws the attention of several girls behind the front row. They whisper, suspecting that Yin and Jungkook's relationship looks more like that of a couple than close friends. Yin, leaving with Jungkook, does not escape Yugeum's notice, who frowns as he sees the rival team's captain freely touching and holding Yin's hand as they walk away together without the rest of their friends. "Where are we going, Jungkook?" Yin asked in confusion, though she made no effort to pull her arm from Jungkook's grasp. "The health unit. My stomach hurts. I didn't have time for breakfast this morning." Jungkook replied quietly, one hand clutching his stomach, which was becoming increasingly painful due to his recurring gastritis. Yin stopped in her tracks, yanking his hand that was holding her wrist. "I've told you, just come to my place for breakfast. You know you can't have an empty stomach, yet you skip breakfast. Handsome but stupid." Now their positions were reversed. It was no longer Jungkook pulling her arm, but Yin dragging Jungkook along with quicker steps. Jungkook watched her waist-length brown hair, which smelled of vanilla. He also noticed her slender body, which would be so easy to envelop if he hugged her from behind. He smiled bitterly, knowing that his thoughts might never become reality, as Yin still didn't realize his feelings. Yin draped Jungkook's arm around her neck, doing her best to maintain balance as she helped him reach the apartment building they rented. Fortunately, their units were close to each other, so Yin wasn't to burden bringing him home. In the apartment, they could be considered neighbors. The medical staff had mentioned that Jungkook's stomach had been empty since morning, and the basketball in the afternoon had drained his energy completely. Now, his body was hot and his stomach felt painfully acidic after the elimination round was over. No wonder his stomach acid flared up when he hadn't eaten a single bite since morning. Moreover, his lunch had mostly ended up on Yin's plate because he had already felt nauseous. Yin had helped Jungkook lie down on his bed, a fever-reducing compress still resting on his forehead. She had just finished cooking chicken porridge for him, as he had requested. "Jungkook, wake up, time to eat." Jungkook opened his red eyes and suddenly pulled Yin into his embrace. Yin could feel the heat of his body against her skin, but she was somewhat relieved that his fever had decreased compared to an hour ago. Jungkook closed his eyes again, with Yin still lying on top of him. Yin didn't mind their position, as this behavior was something only she knew about Jungkook. "In front of our friends, you always argue with me, but when we're alone, you always take advantage. Do you have some kind of perverted gene or what?" She protested, still in his embrace, while Jungkook lightly flicked her forehead, though he was reluctant to let go. "Your mind is perverted. This is a skinship to help reduce my fever faster. Don't think weird things." Yin pouted and mimicked his words while defending herself. "Yeah, right. Just say you want me to hug you. No need for excuses." Jungkook sighed, feeling it was a good opportunity to ask a question that had been on his mind for a long time. "If I asked for a hug in front of Yugeum, would you do it for me?" Yin forcefully broke the hug, then hit him hard on his arm. Her cheeks turned pink at the mention of Yugeum's name. Jungkook now looked seriously at her, who was sitting on the edge of his bed, blushing. "Are you seriously into Yugeum? Who wouldn't like Yugeum? Didn't you see how many girls were fighting to give him a drink earlier? Why didn't you join them, making it even more chaotic? I still have some dignity. I'm not some girl who chases after him like that. It's embarrassing." She shivered at the thought, imagining how embarrassing it would be to show her attraction without considering the worst-case scenario, such as rejection. "What if Yugeum likes you too?" Jungkook could see the blush deepening on her round cheeks before she answered. "Of course, I will accept his feelings," Yin said with a cheerful laugh, showing no hint of doubt in her words. If Yugeum had the same feelings for her, there was a good chance they could actually start a relationship. For Jungkook, the toughest rival was no longer the numerous students trying to win Yin's heart but the one person Yin had chosen to fall for. Jungkook felt despair. He thought he had done everything to show his feelings with his action. However, if Yin didn't feel the same, he couldn't force her to reciprocate his love. The next month, Jungkook has been feeling lazy for the past month. He decided to move back to his home and no longer rent the apartment next to Yin's. As a result, the distance he has to travel to get to campus has increased. Jungkook had no other choice, because this was the only effective way to reduce his encounters with Yin and to protect his own heart from more tormenting feelings. In the end, it was Yugyeom who won her heart, making Yin the girlfriend of the campus prince, adored by many female students, including Yin herself. Jungkook, are you sick or something? Your face looks so troubled lately. Minju struggled to swallow his food before rudely intercepting Jungkook's response. Jungkook's life feels empty because Yin can't hang out with us much anymore. She's so busy dating Yugyeom that she's forgotten about her friends. Minju chattered on without any objection from Jungkook. Instead, Jungkook lazily stared at the new couple walking toward their table, looking so affectionate. Yuju and Yuna exchanged glances, sensing something off about Minju's words and Jungkook's changed demeanor since Yin stopped being around them as much. Good morning, everyone. Yin greeted cheerfully, with Yugyeom loyally by her side. Rose glanced briefly, and then rolled her eyes. She was happy to see Yin with the man she loved, but was not thrilled with Yugyeom, who seemed to be deliberately pulling Yin away from them. I'm heading out, everyone. Going to the gym. Jungkook preferred hitting the punching bag there to vent his frustrations lately, and Yin had certainly noticed Jungkook's change in attitude over the past month. It really bothered her. She didn't want Jungkook to keep avoiding her. Yin, Coach Jang wants to see me now, Yugyeom said after checking a message on his phone. Yin quickly nodded, giving her boyfriend permission to leave. Once Yugyeom's back was out of sight, Yin leaned toward her friends at the table. Hey, what's up with Jungkook? She spoke softly, almost in a whisper. Yuna glanced at her, then smirked. It's not what's up with Jungkook, it's what's up with you, Yin. You've become Yugyeom's love slave to the point that you can't even join us for group assignments anymore? Her words, spoken with a mouthful of food, snapped Yin back to reality. Strangely, none of the friends at the table defended her. Minju, Yunwoo, Rose, and Yuju all nodded in agreement with Yuna's words. Yin bowed her head. She realized she had changed. Yin had indeed been spending more time with Yugyeom lately than with her friends. Now, she even felt guilty for often being unavailable when they invited her to work on their group assignments. I'm so sorry, guys. I'll try to balance my time better. Yuju put her arm around Yin's shoulder and smiled broadly. In that case, how about we eat spicy chicken feet at my favorite place this Saturday night until morning, okay? Agreed. Yin will pay. All her friends nodded in unison after hearing Yunwoo's suggestion, followed by Yin's agreement to the idea. Okay. Whether intentional or not, tonight Yugyeom joined the drinking event with the 7 young people at Yuju's favorite spicy chicken feet place. Coincidentally, Yugyeom, who is Yin's boyfriend, passed by the place at 11 p.m. and saw them hanging out together. Yugyeom decided to stop by, say hello and down a few shots of soju while displaying affection with Yin in front of her friends. Yin immediately received sharp looks from her friends, especially Jungkook, who glared disapprovingly at Yugyeom's presence at their small party. They all hoped it would just be the 7 of them tonight, without anyone else joining. But Yugyeom's presence made everyone uncomfortable. His tendency to follow Yin everywhere made her friends uneasy. Recently, they had started noticing the tension between Jungkook and Yugyeom. If they had to choose, they would clearly side with Jungkook. Yugyeom's presence made Jungkook uncomfortable, so they preferred Yugyeom not to be there. For them, Jungkook was more valuable. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, Yugyeom stroked the back of Yin's hand and smiled gently at her. Everyone, enjoy your party. I'm leaving now. See you. Yugyeom pulled Yin outside. They had a usual farewell gesture, but it wasn't appropriate to do it in front of everyone. Honestly, I'm starting to dislike Yugyeom. Here we are as friends. Can't he control himself and not be so affectionate in front of us? Don't they have private time? It's so tacky. I agree. If he just joined us, it wouldn't be a problem. The issue is why they have to be so lovey-dovey in front of us. It's too much. I'm starting to think he's doing it on purpose to annoy Jungkook. I think so too. Makes sense. You two have always competed in basketball, and after your team won, he started approaching Yin, even though he knew you were the closest to her. Right, Jungkook? I don't know. I don't care. Jungkook tried to ignore his thoughts about Yugyeom, but his friend's words brought him back to reality. Fortunately, he had friends who were aware of the situation and also disliked Yugyeom, joining them, which was satisfying for Jungkook. I know they don't like my presence. Sorry for intruding on your time. They didn't mean it that way, Yugium. They just feel like you've taken the time they have with me. We just need to be fair in balancing our time for our relationship and for the people we care about. Yin adjusted her boyfriend's coat. They both smiled gently, understanding the situation. Then Yugium slowly pulled Yin close and gave her a goodbye kiss for a few seconds. Why is it taking so long? Jungkook stopped in his tracks because he had found the reason why Yin was taking so long. He had been worried Yin was in trouble, but his concern was unfounded. Once again, Jungkook was faced with the reality that Yin had found her own love. She had found a man who loved her and whom she loved in return. Jungkook returned inside without answering the questions his friends threw at him. He downed a bottle of soju in one go, his face starting to turn red. Yuna and Yuju exchanged glances, then nodded in unison, better understanding why Jungkook was acting strangely. This time, they decided to support him. I told you not to chase after a couple saying goodbye, Yuju exclaimed, but Jungkook ignored her. Instead, he grabbed another bottle of soju and finished it off as well. I was just worried they might argue outside because he was offended by us. Even if they argue, isn't that none of your business? It's my business if he hits Yin or hurts her. Yuna leaned toward Jungkook with a mischievous look on her face. If they weren't fighting then, what did you see outside? Did you see them doing something? Immediately, Rose and Yuju pinched Yuna's waist, making her wince in pain. Minju and Yoonwoo looked sympathetically at Jungkook, understanding his feelings better than anyone else. They pretended not to notice to avoid making their friendship awkward. Yin returned and sat in front of Jungkook, her cheeks still flushed. She tilted her head slightly to check on Jungkook, who was looking down and ignoring her presence. Hey, Jungkook, are you drunk already? All their friends turned to look and then nodded together. They wanted to give Yin and Jungkook some space. Whether they would talk or just waste time, as friends, they wanted to provide a moment for Yin and Jungkook to create a moment they might need without realizing it. Yin cupped Jungkook's face and lifted it, making his flushed face look up with sad eyes. Jungkook, it's not even midnight and you're already drunk? One by one, their friends started to leave, choosing to go across the street to buy dessert, giving Yin and Jungkook some space. Jungkook remained silent, his gaze becoming deeper, but Yin smiled, feeling a fondness for his drunken behavior. She moved some dishes and empty bottles away from in front of him and gently stroked his hair. Rest your head on the table if you're dizzy. It had been a while since Yin treated Jungkook like this without scolding or arguing over his antics. She missed their precious moments together. Yin continued to rub his head to ease his headache until he suddenly cupped her hand, staring at her with an unreadable expression. Yin's gaze locked onto his sad, dark eyes for a few seconds. She then withdrew her hand from his head and hurriedly drank a shot of soju in front of her. Her round eyes kept trying to avoid eye contact with his dark eyes. Yin felt strange after meeting his gaze so closely after a long time. Do you want me to take you home now? Jungkook asked Yin without looking away. Our friends want to stay until morning. Do you want to leave already? Jungkook shook his head slowly and laid his head on the table, closing his eyes to escape the turmoil in his heart. Soon after, Minju returned from outside, sent by their 3 female friends to convey a fabricated scenario. Yin, Yoonwoo and I are heading to Itaewon. Yuju, Rose, and Yuna have been picked up by their boyfriends. You'll go home with Jungkook, okay? Yin nodded, waving goodbye to Minju, who returned the gesture and left. Jungkook. Wake up, I miss you. We haven't talked in a long time. Yin expressed her feelings honestly. Throughout their close friendship, Yin and Jungkook often shared stories and sought each other's advice, discussing many things. However, after Yin officially became the girlfriend of Jungkook's biggest rival, their relationship had become strained, feeling more like strangers now. This time, Jungkook's heart raced when Yin said she missed the times they used to spend together. Let's talk at your apartment. It's late and I need to lie down too. Jungkook stood up, pulling Yin out. The atmosphere felt strange for her. During the drive, especially being alone in the car, both felt very awkward. Yin found Jungkook unusually quiet, and his demeanor pinched her heart. Now they had arrived at Yin's apartment. Despite Jungkook staggering and Yin feeling dizzy, they arrived safely, although Yin was quite worried, seeing Jungkook drive earlier. He immediately took over Yin's bed to lie down. Tell me what you want to share with me. I'll listen to you as usual, Jungkook said, lying on her bed with his eyes closed. She started to share everything, from small things to important matters in her relationship with Yugium. She talked about the warm attitude of him, how he treated Yin like a queen, and the questions Yugium had been asking her lately. Jungkook found some dangerous implications in the questions Yin mentioned about Yugium's words. Unfortunately, she didn't even realize the meaning behind those suggestions. He now sat up and looked sharply at her. Never agree to go to Yugiam's house for any reason, Yin. Invitations like watching Netflix, eating ramen, or looking at butterflies. Understood? Why? Why do you have to raise your voice, Jungkook? Yin was quite annoyed at his sudden outburst at her question. He stood up, walked towards her, grabbed her shoulders, and stared intensely into her eyes. Because I'm a man too, I know what Yugiam means when he asks you those things. She brushed off his hands from her shoulders, then arrogantly lifted her head, challenging him. What do you mean? He's just asking me to watch a movie, eat ramen, or look at butterflies, right? What's weird about that, Jungkook? He took a deep breath, then took a step closer to her until she unconsciously stepped back to avoid bumping into him. Eventually, Yin found herself trapped between Jungkook and the wall. Yin swallowed nervously as Jungkook enclosed her small frame with his towering body, then pinned her wrists to the sides, bringing their faces close enough to feel each other's breath. He tilted his head slightly to avoid their noses colliding, and with a sudden surge of courage, he pressed his lips to hers for several seconds before kissing her more intensely. Her fists clenched tightly because Jungkook was holding her wrists. While Jungkook continued to enjoy the one-sided kiss, he was truly relishing the moment, seemingly unconcerned that Yin wasn't responding. His eyes were closed and his head moved from side to side. For him, he was already happy because Yin hadn't pushed him away yet. Jungkook finally ended it after a few minutes. He then moved his face close to her ear. What I just did is a warm-up to the 3 invitations Yugiam mentioned. You can look up the meaning of those questions on the internet. He took 3 steps back and stared at her for a while before finally leaving without saying goodbye. After Jungkook left, Yin immediately touched her lips, confused about her feelings. Meanwhile, Jungkook pressed his chest firmly to calm his racing heart. The next day, the table with 7 young people felt quieter than usual. Jungkook and Yin, sitting across from each other, chose to focus on their food instead. Yoona nudged Yin as the students' favorite campus radio show began to air. Once again, Yugiam was reading the secret admirer's confessions. The depth with which Yugiam read each line touched every listener, and perhaps unconsciously, could be understood by the person the poems were intended for. The last letter for today comes again from Drake Frost. To you, Moonflower. Yugiam selected the perfect background music to accompany the poem he was about to read, then took a deep breath, savoring each word of the poem before him. Dear Moonflower, last night was the bravest way I've ever shown my feelings. If you still don't understand, I don't mind repeating it again and again until you do. Dear Moonflower, can we kiss forever? By Drake Frost. Yugiam ended romance space for the day by playing the entire song from the background music he chose earlier, titled Can We Kiss Forever? The touching poem and the song that perfectly depicted someone's hidden feelings created a combination capable of conveying deep emotions. Suddenly, Rose slammed the cafeteria table, catching Yin, Jungkook, and their friends' attention. Ugh, seriously. So curious about this dear Moonflower. Drake Frost can be so sweet, but she still doesn't get it? Who is this girl really? So the poem meant Drake Frost kissed Moonflower last night, right? Whoa, if that's true, they've kissed, and this Moonflower girl still hasn't figured it out. Does she even have a heart? Meanwhile, Yin and Jungkook stared straight at each other, diving into each other's eyes, searching for answers to the confusing events of the previous night. Park Yin. A senior female suddenly stood beside Yin's chair. Yes, what is it? The senior female smirked and casually glanced at her. Could you please break up with Yugiam soon? We want to get back together. Yuju, Rose, and Yoona burst into mocking laughter at the girl who acted like a boss. Who do you think you are? Ordering someone to break up just because you want to get back with Yugiam. Does Yugiam even want you back? Weird. Before the girl could respond to Yoona's mockery, Yugiam arrived and forcefully pulled her away from them. He glanced briefly at Yin, then fixed a stern gaze on the girl who had disturbed his girlfriend. Yugiam then left, dragging the girl with him. Suddenly, Jungkook, where are you going? Why are you standing up like that all of a sudden? To the restroom. Jungkook immediately left his friends, especially Yin, who was still lost in thought since Yugiam had pulled that girl's hand away earlier. I've already told you not to disturb her. We can still be intimate without you interfering with my girlfriend. But I don't want you sleeping with her and then sleeping with me. I refuse to share you with her or any other girl. From the beginning, you willingly offered yourself even without any official relationship between us. So what's the problem now? The problem now is, I want to have you all to myself. I want you to only sleep with me and stop sleeping with her. What are you talking about? I haven't even touched her. She's very difficult to get into bed. So stop being jealous without reason or I will leave you. But you're getting busier by the day spending time with her. Even though before you started dating her, you spent a lot of time with me. Jungkook, hearing all of the conversation, clenched his fists tightly. How could a guy like Yugyeom date Yin but also sleep with another girl? Is Yugyeom just playing with Yin? And even worse, it's been happening since before Yugyeom and Yin started dating. Yugyeom successfully threatened Hannah, causing her to leave with an angry expression. Now Yugyeom could breathe a sigh of relief. He turned his body around and began to head back towards the cafeteria to meet Yin. But just as Yugyeom took his first step, a sharp punch lands squarely on his cheekbone, causing his lip to split open. Are you playing with Yin? Did you sleep with that woman because Yin wouldn't go to bed with you? Jungkook, it's not like that. You don't understand the situation. Yugyeom wipes the blood from his split lip, trying to stand up. You're playing her, damn it. You don't need to meddle in my affairs. It becomes my affair when you hurt her. So it's true you love her? Why didn't you make her yours? Is your love unrequited? I deliberately stepped aside all this time because I let her choose the man she likes. She truly loves you, but you're playing her. Yugyeom's sturdy body now lies sprawled again. This time, Jungkook even pins Yugyeom down and grips his collar tightly. I stepped aside so she could be with you, but if I knew you were playing her, I wouldn't have let her be with you. Do you understand that? Huh? If I knew you were this wicked to her, I would have made her mine instead. Strangely, Yugyeom doesn't resist. He only winces in pain. Perhaps Yugyeom realizes he deserves the beating for his treatment of both women who loved him. Jungkook stands up, glaring fiercely at Yugyeom with his fists still clenched. I will take you to her, and you will confess your actions to her face. Let's see if Yin still wants to be with a man like you. But suddenly, there's no need. Both Jungkook and Yugyeom are surprised to hear her voice. They turn to see Yin standing there, tears streaming down her face. Yugyeom, we don't need to see each other anymore. Yugyeom remained silent, feeling quite guilty in front of Yin, but for some reason, his mouth felt dry and unable to say anything. Jungkook, can you take me home now? Jungkook sighed heavily, his gaze returning to Yugyeom, who was still frozen and silent. I'm warning you, don't disturb or come near her again or I will destroy you. After threatening him, Jungkook finally approached Yin, who was already in tears, and firmly took her hand, leading her towards the parking lot to take her home immediately. Since coming back from campus, Jungkook had been observing Yin, who was just sitting there daydreaming. Occasionally, Jungkook counted the number of empty beer cans she had finished. Jungkook, do all men who date women always have the intention of sleeping with them? Her puffy, flushed face slowly turned toward Jungkook. He swallowed nervously. Answering a question that reveals men's tendencies wasn't easy to answer accurately, but Jungkook tried to give his perspective as objectively as possible. It depends on the guy. Not all of them, but most can be like that. So, did Yugyeom sleep with her because he failed to get me to do it? If I had agreed, would he still have slept with that woman? Actually, they had already been doing it before Yugyeom became your boyfriend. How do you know? I overheard their conversation. The girl was jealous because after Yugyeom started dating you, he had less time for her. Yin was truly shocked to learn this fact. She could only remain silent, listening to what Jungkook was saying. She never suspected that she could be deceived by Yugyeom, whom she had always thought of as a good person. Jungkook, if you had a girlfriend, would you also ask her to sleep with you? Jungkook adjusted his sitting position and looked straight at her. He took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. He had to control himself so as not to show how much turmoil he was feeling inside. Maybe yes, maybe no, but I certainly wouldn't force it if my girlfriend didn't want to. And I would never do what Yugyeom did. Sleeping with another woman to satisfy his desires while there's a heart he should be protecting is a form of infidelity. Yin now sat silently beside him, pondering his words and reflecting on what she knew about love. She concluded that love indeed consists of various feelings such as attraction, the desire to possess, and sexual desire towards the opposite sex. Her drunken mind started to become chaotic. Her brain even replayed the memory of Jungkook kissing her yesterday. Jungkook, I clearly heard your confession about me when you said it in front of Yugyeom today. Jungkook suddenly fell silent, meeting her gaze with equal intensity. It was too late to deny his feelings now. He had already made his feelings clear by kissing Yin intimately back then. By now, Yin should understand who truly holds his heart. Jungkook, to be honest, I want to do it too. Yin bit her lip, unsure if she should confess this to Jungkook, but something compelled her to say it. It's just that I was afraid to do it with Yugyeom. I didn't trust him that much, but if you want, I'd do it with you. Yin began to touch his neck gently while he closed his eyes, trying to restrain himself, but a second later, he caught her hand. Don't tempt me, Yin. You're drunk right now. I don't want you to regret this when you remember everything later. Are you rejecting me? Then what was the meaning of your kiss yesterday? You have no idea how crazy I've been trying to understand my feelings, and now you're heartlessly rejecting me like this. Jungkook stared intensely at her. It was clear she was under the influence of alcohol. Jungkook knew he had to stay sane. He had to suppress his feelings and instincts as a man. Can you just tell me how you feel about me directly? Don't just keep it to yourself. I can't read minds, you know? I'm not a psychic or a psychologist. Jungkook looked at Yin softly. Perhaps this was his chance to explain his feelings to her directly. Dear Moonflower, I love you. He finally confessed, unable to hide his feelings any longer. Yin smiled, amused. Her drunken antics were quite endearing. She laughed at his heartfelt confession, pointing her finger at him. Drake Frost? She nodded in understanding, her cheeks blushing. Suddenly, she leaned into him, grabbed his collar and kissed him. Her plump lips pressed against his, taking him by surprise. She wrapped her arms around his neck, nearly sitting on his lap. After a few minutes of letting Yin kiss him, Jungkook finally cupped her small face as she enjoyed the kiss with her eyes closed. Slowly, he pulled away. Honestly, Jungkook was almost at the edge of his consciousness. If he had allowed Yin to kiss him any longer, he might have lost his sanity. Yin remained silent, gazing at him with teary eyes, as if he had hurt her. Her eyes seemed to plead for him to let her do whatever she wanted to him. Seeing Yin like this, Jungkook sighed. He felt utterly conflicted. He grabbed a can of beer in front of him and downed it in one go. One can of beer wouldn't get him drunk, but it might make his mind a bit hazy and give him enough courage. You offered it earlier, so I'm going to take this chance, he said, with a meaningful look in his eyes. Their gazes locked, and Yin smiled softly at him before nodding, giving him permission to go further than their intimate kiss from yesterday. Now, Jungkook no longer tried to maintain his sanity. He decided to take the opportunity given by her, influenced by the alcohol he had just consumed. He didn't want to waste the chance to be with her. With his mind clouded, he began to kiss her intensely, his actions far bolder than before. Both of them were equally disoriented, both under the influence of alcohol. As Jungkook went further and was on the brink of losing control, he paused to look at her who was entirely submissive to him. Yet, once again, his awareness and rationality returned. It seemed his love for this girl was much stronger than his desire. Yin. Jungkook gently stroked her flushed cheek with his thumb. She was now lying on the sofa, having closed her eyes, but slowly, she opened her eyes and gazed softly at him. It's okay. It doesn't have to be tonight, right? Besides, you're drunk. I'm afraid you'll regret it when you wake up. I won't regret it if I do it with you. Alright, we'll do it when you're fully sober. But I am sober, Jungkook. No, Yin, you're drunk. I don't want us to do this while we're intoxicated. Jungkook began to rebut in her clothes, which had been partially removed. He straightened her disheveled clothing, which was almost entirely undone. In truth, he was also struggling to control his natural instincts, but his rationality still prevailed. He looked at her face and observed her body. There were already numerous hickeys he had left all over her. Let's just sleep now, okay? Then he lifted her in a bridal style and carried her to her bedroom. That night, they truly just slept. The next morning, it was still very early, with the sun yet to rise. Yin woke up first. She opened her eyes and found Jungkook's face very close to hers. She was lying on her side, hugging Jungkook, with one of his arms serving as a pillow for her head. Jungkook was also hugging her while lying on his back. She gazed at his face in detail, realizing just how handsome he was. Then Yin tried to remember the events that led them to end up in bed together. She bit her lip as the memories of last night, which she found very embarrassing, started to play back in her mind. How could she have been so aggressive with him? Had she lost all sense of shame? You're awake? Jungkook greeted her with his deep, husky voice. Yin just nodded shyly, clutching the blanket tightly, feeling very awkward now that she was fully sober. Jungkook, last night we? She couldn't bring herself to finish the question. She pulled the blanket up to cover her flushed face. However, Jungkook slipped under the blanket, hugging her as she regretted her actions. Don't feel awkward. We almost did it, but we didn't. Jungkook then pulled the blanket away from her face, revealing her completely. Instantly, she pouted and lightly punched his chest, making him chuckle as he watched her blush. Jungkook, I'm sorry for being so forward with you last night. No need to apologize. I like your honesty when you're drunk. She frowned in curiosity. She didn't fully remember everything she said, but she didn't forget it all either. She could recall most of it, though vaguely. What exactly did I say? You said you were afraid to do it with Yugyeom because you didn't trust him enough, but then you said if you wanted to do it with She covered his mouth to stop him from continuing her embarrassing confession. Jungkook, can we just forget my drunken ramblings from last night? Just forget it, okay? Yin was now truly nervous, and the situation felt increasingly awkward. However, Jungkook soon shook his head. I can't. You've made me hope too much. She closed her eyes tightly, pursing her mouth for speaking without thinking about the shame she would bear afterward. How could she move on from Yugyeom so easily without feeling prolonged sadness? And now she had these strange new feelings for her friend? Why did it seem like there was no space left in her heart for Yugyeom? Had she truly loved him, or was it just? What are you thinking about? Why do you look so lost in thought? Is it normal to feel just disappointed in him without feeling the sadness? Shouldn't I be heartbroken? Suddenly, Yin doubted the nature of her feelings for Yugyeom. Jungkook then moved closer, closing the distance between them. It's perfectly normal, because maybe your feelings for Yugyeom were just admiration that faded once you realized he didn't meet your expectations. So learn to distinguish between admiration and love. Yin was silent, processing what Jungkook had said, but his next words made her blush again. What's not normal is, why weren't you sure enough about Yugyeom to do it with him even though he was clearly your boyfriend? But you offered yourself to me instead. Is it because you trust me more, or because you actually love me? Yin froze for a few moments, thinking about Jungkook's words that somehow aligned perfectly with her current feelings. She was increasingly confused about who she truly loved all this time. Suddenly, Yin lightly punched his chest again, glaring at him. I was just drunk when I said that, so don't take it too seriously. Really? Of course. Why are you so confident that I love you? Jungkook reached for the back of her neck, tilting her head slightly as if he were about to kiss her. Because I made you unable to forget the kiss I gave you that night. Jungkook, you didn't push me away. You let me kiss you as much as I wanted. Why didn't you push me away back then? Do you even remember how you begged me to touch you last night? I still don't understand myself. I'm confused. Alright, I'll help you understand. With that, Jungkook kissed her with all the feelings he had. It sent her consciousness soaring with an intense yet very gentle kiss. His hand now caressing her cheek. They looked into each other's eyes, their gazes locked, exploring each other's thoughts. I love you. Can you feel my feelings now? Finally, Yin nodded, her cheeks flushing even more. Yes, it seemed she had now realized her feelings of love. Her heart was beating much stronger than it had when she kissed her ex. Did this mean her feelings for Jungkook were actually deeper? Suddenly, a tear slipped from the corner of her eye and fell because of her lying position. Seeing this, Jungkook panicked immediately, worried that he had hurt her with his actions. Yin, why are you? Why did it take you so long to confess to me? Why only now? Why did you let me become that jerk's girlfriend? If only you had confessed sooner, I wouldn't have. I knew you liked Yugyeom. I wanted you to be happy. You looked so happy when you looked at him. I thought you would be happy with him. I regret ever being his girlfriend. I know it's not your fault. I'm just angry at myself for falling into his trap. Jungkook immediately hugged Yin, not expecting his confession to end with her crying like this. Shouldn't they be happy instead? This was far from what he had predicted. Why were women so difficult to understand and unpredictable? I'm sorry. I was too cowardly to confess to you directly. I wasn't ready for you to possibly reject me because I knew you were in love with someone else and I didn't want our relationship to become strained. Jungkook wiped the remaining tears from her cheeks, then kissed her swollen eyes. But from now on, I won't let you be with another man. He kissed her lips again intensely, and this time Yin returned it with all her feelings, both of them closing their eyes to enjoy the moment they had long awaited and desired. Jungkook intertwined his hands with hers before breaking the kiss for a moment. Now that we're not under the influence of alcohol, how about we continue what we started last night? Yin didn't answer verbally, perhaps too shy to do so, but instead, she kissed his lips again. Jungkook understood and smiled into their kiss. A few minutes later, get ready. You'll be mine completely and forever, Moonflower. Yeah, I'm yours, Drake Frost. Finally, that early morning became a beautiful moment for them for the first time.